Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and my law firm assists dental associates and dentists with employment contract issues. Today, I'm going to talk about what is occurrence-based malpractice insurance for a dentist. So, if you are just coming out of training, just graduated from dental school, you probably haven't had to think about malpractice insurance before. But when you sign your new employment contract, there's definitely going to be language about who pays for the underlying coverage and then potentially has to pay for coverage after the contract terminates. So there are two common types of malpractice insurance for dentists. You have occurrence-based coverage and claims-made coverage. And so let's kind of go through both of those, and then we'll talk a little more in depth about occurrence-based coverage. So a claims-made policy simply means a policy has to be in effect when the claim is actually made. So a dentist could terminate the contract, leave an employer, and then that, if it's a claims-made policy, it ends when they leave the employer. So then there's going to be a gap in between when they leave and then the last day they can be sued. Most states, it's around 2 years. There are some exceptions. For instance, if some minors become an adult, and there are others in different states, but let's just take 2 years as kind of like a common amount. So if you leave the employer and someone can sue you for 2 years, then you need a policy that covers the gap in between those two dates. Now, and that is called tail insurance. Now, who has to pay for tail? Well, that's going to be dictated by the terms of the employment agreement. It's going to state most likely that the employer is going to pay for the underlying coverage, meaning they'll pay the annual premium, how much it costs to cover the dentist on a year-to-year basis. And then after the contract is terminated, who pays for tail insurance? It will state it specifically in the contract. If it doesn't, it needs to. Tail insurance is generally around twice what the annual premium is to cover the dentist. So whatever they have to pay on a yearly basis, you just multiply that times 2, and that's kind of a good estimate as far as how much the dentist would have to pay for tail if they had to pay for it. It's a one-time cost, so you don't have to pay on a year-to-year basis. And a tail length can change depending upon how much coverage the dentist wants. So it could be 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, could be unlimited. It's a little more expensive the more coverage you have. I would suggest just getting the longest amount of coverage. Just getting a 1-year tail, even though the statute of limitations on a claim is 2 years, it puts the dentist at risk. And it just doesn't make sense it'll probably be the difference between a few $100s. It makes zero sense not to go for the longer coverage. So that's claims-made insurance. Now, claims-made is the most common type of malpractice insurance used by dental practices. However, some use what's called occurrence-based coverage. And occurrence-based coverage means a claim or a malpractice incident there has to be a policy in effect when the incident occurs. So as long as there is an occurrence-based policy, and obviously the incident's going to occur while the dentist is employed with the practice, no tail insurance is necessary. So you do not have to worry about any claims after the employment relationship ends if you have an occurrence-based policy. Now, you're probably thinking, all right, well, why would one choose occurrence versus claims made? Obviously, occurrence is better if you don't have to purchase tail. Yes, that's true. It's just more expensive. An occurrence-based policy generally costs about 1/3 more than a claims-made policy. So just from the perspective of like a dental practice, they would prefer to pay 1/3 less per year for the malpractice insurance. Additionally, they would put the onus on the dentist to pay for tail, and they save a bunch of money rather than having to pay 1/3 more per year for occurrence coverage and then no tail expense on the end as well. So if you have the choice, there's no reason not to go with occurrence coverage if the employer is paying for it. Most employers are not going to leave it up to the dentist as far as which policy to choose. They're just going to have a policy, and then all of the providers in the practice will use the same policy. But let's say maybe you're an independent contractor and whoever you're working for says, it's up to you. Well, you need to do kind of a math equation. Let's just say your insurance cost is $3,000 per year. So if you had an occurrence-based policy, and let's just say for claims made, it was $3,000 a year, occurrence is a third more. So that would be $4,000 total for occurrence. Whereas claims made is $3,000 plus usually a $6,000 tail. So if you're going to stay with an employer for 1 year, it makes sense to pay the $4,000 for occurrence-based coverage versus $3,000 for a policy plus $6,000 for a tail. That's a $5,000 difference. If you're going to stay with an employer for a very long time, claims made might make more sense. You just kind of have to do the math and shop for the policies and just see the price differences between the two. Dental malpractice insurance is not prohibitively expensive. Obviously, some of the subspecialties in surgery and things like that, it's going to be more. But for the most part, dental malpractice is pretty reasonable. If you have any questions about your employment contract, feel free to call my law firm at the phone number listed below in the description, or you can reach us through our website, chellelaw.com. Once again, my name is Robert Chelle, and I appreciate you watching the video. Thank you.